Hey, greetings and welcome back as we await for Ellie to be able to show up in her waiting chair, the cyborg anthropologist. We're certainly happy to have concluded this powerful roundtable discussion that we just had. There was a lot that was said and expressed. No worries, Ellie. We take it naturally here, organically. Although we're always happy to see you here smiling on stage and you want to check your mic. But before we go there, we want to be able to say to each of you, audience that have come to join us at GatherVerse.live, that we'll be heading into another roundtable discussion here in a matter of minutes. And we have a segue here to be able to spend some time with Ellie Bohan. And we would like for you to be able to introduce yourself, Ellie, and what you're doing and what inspired you to be here. We have a little bit to unpack, quite a lot to unpack, and a little bit of given time.
All right. Hopefully everything is up to speed. Everything looks good on my end. How do I sound?
Sound wonderful.
Perfect. So, hello, everybody. My name is Ellie Bohan. I am a cyborg anthropologist and technology ethicist. I'm excited to be here to talk about AI, demystify a few things, clarify, define. That tends to be what I do. And I really want to have a genuine discussion about the state of AI and its impact on you.
Thank you so much, Ellie. We're always happy to be able to have you here at GatherVerse to assemble once together again. And may our gather be well. I tend to think about on the heels of this powerful dialogue of engagement that we just had with the leaders and different professionals that joined us in roundtable assembly just now, just these moments, as quick as it comes and quick as it goes. What are some of your thoughts on some of the things that were conveyed, Ellie, from all the work that you're doing right now?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that last roundtable discussion. I feel like there's definitely some conversations about the loneliness and isolation. There's a current human gap, be it if you talk about in the workplace or within regular human relations, and that leads to a trust gap and that leads to an understanding gap, and it just spirals out. So I really enjoyed that last panel and really hearing how other people are navigating the current state of AI.
What do you think the inherent responsibility of a modern day technologist that's innovating and building an artificial intelligence when it comes to disseminating this information to the world and educating the world on what's happening in present day that we find ourselves in at that time of hyperscale?
The inherent responsibility of anybody building within this space is consistency and understanding what their values truly are. If you're a person that's saying you want to build ethical AI, you have to constantly stay up to date on what that means and update your community as to what that means for you and your projects.
What is ethical AI?
I think we should first start off by asking, what are we talking about when we talk about AI? Are we talking about augmented intelligence? Are we talking about machine learning algorithms? Are we talking about image generation? What are we talking about when we're talking about AI?
I tend to think when we're talking about AI diffusion and adversarial networks, I tend to think from a more of a different lens of whether it's polynomial constructs or physics engines when it comes to the ability for machines to express themselves digitally in ways that we see that go beyond this material layer but into the virtual layer. I find it very fascinating. It's just really beyond language for me, but for many people, it is dealing just with language models. But we also look at just the dawn and the ascension of these world models. So let's start with just maybe on a higher threshold of MLDL, machine learning, and then neural nets.
Okay, cool. So if we're going to talk about machine learning systems, right, how do we ethically build them? Are we looking at what data we're gathering? Are we getting consent for the data we're gathering? What is that energy impact? Where are those databases being built? Do the communities have well understanding of what that means for them locally? So full systematically, and a big thing that I always talk about, consent. If you're starting there with a good foundation of consent and true and honest consent, you can build from there.
When we talk about consent, it's very interesting. We're really probably, I think, what I believe that you're talking about is consent when it comes to constructing a data set and be able to assemble data, whether it's in our data lake reservoirs or whether we're just aggregate data when it comes to actual data or synthetic data. But why is this such a big deal, especially under the banner of technoliteracy?
Okay, so consent is very important when you bring up that banner of technoliteracy, shifts a little bit, and that makes me excited. Consent is something in general I've noticed we don't have a very good standing of in tech in general. When you add in that technoliteracy element, it makes it even more malicious. For example, Think about if you have somebody in your life that doesn't have technoliteracy. Often people think of an older adult, a grandma or grandpa, for example. If you got them a gym membership to help with their health, and then they decide they don't want to go to that gym anymore, think of how many people right now had a sinking gut feeling of what that process would be like for them to unsubscribe from that gym membership.
Mm,
The literacy they have to use their computer, of responding to emails, to check their inbox and make sure their inbox hasn't been flooded or inundated with subscriptions or newsletters that they might not have fully consented to, right? And I know this from a one-on-one session that I've had with somebody where the Gmail generated AI summary at the top of their inbox, they thought was somebody responding to them, a genuine person. So you're having all these elements of
sure.
techno literacy that needs to be explained just to unsubscribe from a gym membership, for example.
Does this justify our assembly when it comes to agentic systems that can extend this heightened state of play when it comes to the way that we interact and we are using these tools? Our tools have become semi-intelligent, and whether we're conscious of that or not, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to unwind to be able to protect ourselves, A, and B, to even know that our data is so subjected to machine training and machine understanding. Will it take machines to be able to keep up and to contend and to compete with this machine environment that we find ourselves in today?
No.
Hmm,
To the first question of justifying, it does not. I think we have a backlog of things to apologize for in the technology space, to put it very bluntly.
that's right.
Um, if we're talking about, you mentioned that sort of next generation or next being. In my work, I call it the technological other. We already have individuals that identify more with being a cyborg or part robotic than being a human due to the current state that they are being treated as a person, or their personhood is treated. They feel more aligned to a personhood closer to a robot than to the personhood that one might assume they should have as a human, right? So, oops, sorry, hit my microphone. We already have so much to discuss and analyze when it comes into personhood, when it comes to technology, that a AI gaining sentiment or consciousness is something that we are so fully unprepared for, because we're not prepared to have the other conversation about how disability or wheelchair mobility leads to the undoing of a person's personhood right now today, right? And when we talk about the data and the aggregation of that, we're currently building on data that's been ripped from the hands of so many folks, and continuing to build on that is unjustifiable, in my opinion.
But if we're unprepared, Ellie, as a retort, if we
Mhm.
are unprepared, vastly, and I agree, I concur, we're twin on this. If we are unprepared and technology is accelerating at a clip that we've never seen before, what makes us stand to believe that we can become prepared and to catch up with this hyperscale?
Yeah, to quote from Gen Z slang that's often credited to, not falling into doomerism, right? The people call Gen Z Zoomers, and then Gen Z has gone through so much psychologically that some folks who are being mentally affected are often called doomers, right? So, not falling into doomerism. Yes, we are behind drastically when it comes into AI law, right? Social technology, right? Things like that. We are drastically behind. I believe we can keep up if we are ready to discuss the uncomfortable answers to the questions that we should have been asking. I'm fine asking the questions, but we have to be ready to discuss the uncomfortable answers that come out from survey analysis, from research, from everyday individuals. We have to be ready for that if we want change.
And I appreciate that stance. It seems to me that when we look at the so-called godfathers of AI, that they're not in agreement with one another. There are those that are doomers. There are ones that say AI will be just fine as we move forward. Some say that it's infinitesimal. Some say that it's as heavy as it's ever been. And the reality is, it seems to me that there needs to be more research and better understanding apart from the so called experts, but cumulatively for us to be able to have this global cloud consensus to be able to generate a better sense of understanding in real time with continuance to better appreciate where we find ourselves at, and to be able to take that information or that data and to be able to do something better and make whatever necessary tactical adjustments with it. I think about this under the banner again of techno literacy.
Mm.
Where does techno literacy play in thematically in what was just expressed when we think about this need to be able to help people to better understand and to ingress them into environments to break apart from their pursuit of understanding and to be able to aggregate into this way?
Yeah, I think we need to really, really just accept the fact that we have to study the humanities when it comes to technology studies. I know that Dr. Michelle Trim at the University of Massachusetts Amherst is drafting out a course that does exactly this, and I'm incredibly proud of her work. I know that that was instrumental for me, be it designing my own major in undergrad at Smith College, to being able to study data analytics and computational social science during my master's degree program. We right now have individuals that don't even understand how email works or websites, right?
Right.
And even how critical their data is to the modern day infrastructure. Just taking that moment to stop and just as we did in this conversation and define AI, what are we talking about? That's a moment of techno literacy. That's a moment where folks can understand, oh, wow, there really is all these different dimensions to AI. Okay, this is what they're talking about right now. Bringing people into the conversation starts by letting them have a chance to learn what you're talking about.
You know, one of the things I do admire so much about you, Ellie, you've been here so many times with GatherVerse, and we're always pleased to have you, is that I think you just, in a very nutshell, summed up what most so-called some of the biggest experts in the world have failed to see is the need to be able to teach and to educate that which we innovate in a way where we don't assume what people know, but to come down to where they're at as opposed to us having to go up to where they are.
Mm.
There's such a gap differential in between. And if we do not close this gap with urgency, I feel that the distance will be too far for the gap to ever be closed and to be fulfilled. Lastly, at this moment, with this 1 minute that we have left, what is Ellie doing today? As quick as it comes, as quick as it goes. What is Ellie doing today? What are you doing today to help contribute to techno literacy and to be able to close this gap? Uh, we're so happy and really just proud of you for your accomplishments thus far. I've literally seen your trajectory of growth over these past few years, and it's incredible to see. But what are you doing here for 2026? How are you representing?
Yeah, I first want to say thank you so much. I've been with GatherVerse for years. I think having this community and platform has been a very key part of me practicing that muscle of how to communicate these very intense and dense topics very effectively. So thank you so much, Chris, and everyone on the team. What am I doing right now is number one, I'm asking my academic community for help or guidance when it comes to running a second round of my cyborg sentiment analysis research. So if you're wondering why I was so big on sentiment analysis, that is why I am going back into research once again. And also number two, I'm doing a second round of my techno literacy work that I've been doing here in New York City, where I've been going to older adult community centers and individuals to teach them the very basics of technology, no shame at all. Getting the LLC formed out and everything. So if you want to follow along, I'm on Substack now at Projects by Eli. I'm excited to keep doing this work.
I'll follow along and I'll be happy to do it. Audience, please take time to find Ellie Blunt and the work that she's doing. It's extraordinary. Super proud. I definitely look forward to being able to have you back again to be able to give us an update of what you're seeing here in this world. And the presence of you, I am a student. Thank you so much. And audience, we're now getting ready for our next state of play when it comes to roundtables. We're here to have a discussion about agents. It's that time. We're about to roll up the sleeves. We have assembled many, many minds on this subject, and I can't find a more important time for us to be able to have a discussion covering the state of play of agents than there is now, if we brought the right members to be able to have this dialogue. Thank you for joining again, Ellie. Our gather was well. And for the next roundtable discussion, may our gather be well.
It